Hey, Secretaries. Uh, I've already finished my presentation on New York, but I just got to thinking about it, and I kind of wanted to make a little something that kind of drives home the the point of what I think Byron was trying to do in using fear in in a using fear in a playful way to help kids understand history and what it must have been like at that point in time in history. And I think he was a just a terrific teacher like that. And so there was a pretty famous film a few years ago, and it does illustrate a lot of the points that are in the verse. And so I just wanted to do like a short presentation on that, on kind of how uh, just how these puzzles work and how we're supposed to kind of put ourselves in that situation. And but yeah, so this is going to be real short. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, but it kind of shows how like we're supposed to kind of look at these and be that person in history. And then I'll go further into it and breaking down the verses and the image and all that stuff and what Byron was actually doing. So anyway, enjoy this, and I'll get back to you in a few minutes.
North side stick, start with side stick. Move fast and clear those murder holes. Want to see plenty of beats between men. 5 men is a juicy opportunity. 1 man's a waste of ammo. Keep the sand out of your weapon. Keep those actions clear. We'll see you on the beat. Clear the room. 30 seconds. Got me with.
That's quite a view. Yes, it is. Quite a view.
guys, so this is Matt, and I'm a secreteer here playing with the puzzles. The other day, I presented a presentation. It was about an hour long called The Secret of the Secret. You're welcome to check that out on my YouTube channel, but it kind of gives you a breakdown of kind of like how all the puzzles work, in my opinion, and how Byron and John's template was when they built these things. And New York was one of the ones that I kind of like went pretty fast through, but I kind of want to just make a presentation to present New York a little bit more in detail, and give it the look that it really deserves. And I do have a video on this that already goes through the saw for the most part, but I never really talked about it and things, and I kind of want to do that here. So anyway, let's get started. So this one, we look at the image, and you've got a lady coming out of water. She's got the New York face. The Statue of Liberty is the big obvious New York there. You can say Gray Giant too, maybe. I don't know, but that's not what I focus on. Like I look at it like all the cities and stuff have been matched up, but I try to find or focus on what people don't see and what they miss. And and instead of looking for hidden things, I look at like what's right in front of me and try to make sense of it, right? So in this image, we have someone coming out of water. She's dripping. There's a bird. There's this D shape here. It appears to be day. And then there's a turning tide. Now, that turning tide is the most important part of that painting because it kind of helps tell that, and her coming out of the water kind of helps tell the most biggest part of the story that Byron's trying to get us to do. And in all of these puzzles, he's trying to get us to do something. It's not he's trying to get us to find something. He's trying to get us to do something. And you have to like play your role and your part and to get to the casque. And a lot of these have puzzles. Um, I haven't physically gone through them, but like Charleston has a riddle to it. Uh, Things like that. And some are things that you will physically see, but some just aren't. And one that isn't is Houston. So Fortress North Cold as Glass. That is nothing you're ever going to see. That's just a riddle for space, right? And you just have to know that. And then you put that with the rest of the verse, and it kind of gives you a tale simply told on what to do. I just call these things tales simply told because that's what they are. They're very few words to give you a story. So I just call it simply told, even though they're hard to figure out. But anyway, but this one, believe it or not, is Normandy. And little things that also tell me that are the fact that it's a bookend, and San Francisco is Pearl Harbor, and we had to become a sleeping giant in that one. But in this, that was the uh, western side of the world, and this was on the eastern side of the world in Europe. But he's having us invade Normandy on this one. Normandy was also called D-Day. It was also called Operation Overlord, and the John kind of gives it like a little religious kind of look to it here too, which I thought was interesting. But the tide, the reason the tide is important because the Americans turned the tide of World War II. So we have to turn the tide in this thing. And if we're going to have to turn the tide, we got to get in the water, right? So we come over here, and then in his little Ridley kind of way, it's in the shadow of the gray giant. So nobody knows what the giant is. I personally think it's just New York. It's just talking about a big gray city. A lot of people think it's a bridge, and in my solution, it very well could be. But I think he's just saying New York, in my opinion. Find the arm that extends over the slender path in summer. So you kind of need to read all five of those lines at once, right? So if you're looking for a slender path in summer, you're looking for a diving board. So we have to find a diving board. So New York has like a lot of public pools, but there was one in particular that I liked, and it's not McCarran. A lot of people like McCarran, and it very well could be at McCarran because of the onion domes here, or the Russian Cathedral, or Eastern Orthodox, whatever that church is right there. But I don't think so. I think it's at Astoria Park. And the reason I think it's at Astoria Park is because it looks exactly like the image. I mean, when you look at the pool itself, that's the image. Like, this is your D right here. It's got your little line underneath it, and then it's got water underneath that. And to me, that looks a lot like the image. But that's not the only reason I think it's there. And we're gonna get to all that. So just bear with me. so so now we know we have to find a pool. You'll often hear a whirring sound. So that's just being underwater. Like when you go underwater, if you've ever been in a pool, you're underwater, you kind of hear a whirring sound. Well, we're also rating the beach at Normandy. That's what Byron is having us do. And the whirring sound, it could be the planes going over us. It could be the humming of the boats going ashore, or whatever. But we have to get in the water. Is the most important part. But it could be just the planes going over us, the bullets going by us. That's the whirring sound. Just think of it like the sound of war. Cars abound. All right. That's probably the bridge and shoreline road right there, where there was a pretty heavy traffic thing back in the day where people like to drive along the shore. Um, I think it's called Shore Road or something. Anyway, although the sign nearby speaks of Indy's native, that is Omaha. That is nothing you're going to see. That's just having to know the story. So you're never going to find, you can look as long as you want to, but you're never going to find, although the sign nearby speaks of Indy's native, that I think would be around there. Um, I think that's just something you have to know, that you're in Omaha. So you can read this and know where you are without being there, right? So he thought we could solve these without physically being there. So the natives still speak of him of hard word and three balls. That line was the hardest of all of the lines in the secret book. And you got to remember, this is 1982, and people weren't as sensitive back then. So, but he's telling us we have to fight Hitler there. And so we're going on the beach. Who's on the beach? Like the Germans, right? So, of him of hard word, what is a hard word? Him of hard word. So he wrote a book called Hard Word, and that book is struggle. So him of hard word would be my struggle. So that's just Mein Kampf. So that's partly how Hitler rose to power, was just his propaganda and his book or whatever. But the part that threw me off was like in three vols, right? Because there wasn't three versions of that. There were two, but there was never three. There wasn't a third version of that. There was two versions and a shortened version. But then, so that one really made me think. It's like, okay, so you have to kind of treat this like the Columbus puzzle when you get to this one word. And in Columbus's puzzle, the word was culvert, because you're looking for a passage. You're going, um, you're going southeast, trying to stay west, because you're actually looking for a passage west to the West Indies. And so you're down there around Panama, whatever. But he's used the word culvert because culvert is a passage, like it's a water passage. And so he was very particular in using that word. So here you kind of have to do the same thing. You have to do like, what is volume? And it's just the amount of something, right? So if you look at it in terms of empires, it's how big an empire can be. It's so the Germany had like three empires in history. They had the Holy Roman Empire, they had the German Empire, and then they had the what Hitler was trying to build, which was the Third Reich, which is the Third Empire. So I think of him of hard word and three vols is just Hitler in the Third Reich. So you're on the natives or the Hitler in the Third Reich, right? Um, and so take twice as many east steps as the hour or more. So that's like move it double time, soldier. We gotta hit the beach. We're running. Um, in the middle of one branch of the V, look down. Oh, so from the middle of one branch of the V, that's a total separate thing there. We'll get back to that one. Look down and see simple roots in rhapsodic man soil, or gaze north toward the Isle of B, right? So when you get to this part right here, you've won. You've taken the beach. Now you're just looking down and you're seeing simple roots, and you're just super excited that you made it. You survived. You couldn't be happier, right? Or you can turn around and see what is on that beach toward the Isle of B. And Byron is having us do that in this playful way. So, um, but to do all of this, it's kind of genius the way he's doing it, right? So it's 1980 and you're a kid. And if you guys are my age, I just turned 50. So if you're my age and you remember the 80s, high dives were everywhere. That was kind of a big thing to do, is like swim and bike and play baseball, things like that, right? But high dives that's what they were. They were high dives. But if you never went off of one for the first time, that thing was terrifying. You had to take a leap of faith. And when you're on top of a high dive after you've been in the water, what do? You drip, right? Um, and so once again, I think this is the diving board, but he's having us jump off a high dive, much like the soldiers had to do, show a little bit of bravery, jumping in the water to take the beaches of Normandy. He's just having us act that out. So I think that's what we have to do. And back again, I think it's this pool he had us do it at. So once you get to the high dive, that's your V right here. You can see the arms of the V right here. So it says take 22 steps or more. So I guarantee you it's going to be 22 steps to that V right there or more. You can go even higher if you want to. I think that thing goes like way up there, but on this particular one, but this is all closed now. So I don't even think you can climb it. I think they have it like walled off, but I bet it was about 22 steps to get up there. But once you're up there, you could see this area right here. And that was the point. He wanted us to like jump in the water, take the beach, pretend we're taking the beach, and we make it to like right here to the rocks, which would kind of represent the cliffs on the beaches of Omaha. And so they were like four of those like around here. I can't really see from this picture, but there's like four of them. So it would have been at the second one. So maybe we can reset this to north. See it a little better. So you see how there's four of them there? 1, 2, 3, 4. It would have been this one right here. I think that's the jewel in the image, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so the second one's the jewel. So once you get there, he would have you take that rock like you take in the cliff. And okay, so now that we've taken the rock, here comes the sad part of the puzzle. So now we've taken the rock, we've won, we've done what we were supposed to do in D Day. Now we have to see what it cost us. So we have to gaze toward the Isle of B, which is looking back at that beach, seeing what it actually cost us, right? So my initial idea was to always look back toward the diving board. Um, and there's going to be a couple of options here, but I'm going to tell you the best one. So we're already set to north here, so that's going to help here. But I always thought it was like right here on the back side of this rock. Or you can just directly gaze toward Shore Boulevard, which would be right here. But he is very specific when he says gaze north toward the Isle of B, which is like both the story and this in a directional way. But what is directly north of that rock is that Astor Park War Memorial, which is just a memorial to veterans. So if we're going to find veterans that we lost on that beach, we have to do no more than look directly in front of us at the to the Astor Park War Memorial, and those are the veterans that we lost, and that's the kind of sad part of this puzzle. So your X should be right there because you're gazing north toward the Isle of B, back to the beach on shore. But yeah, that's kind of a really sad. It makes you really think about what was on that beach and laying on that beach, uh, and I think the front of this memorial is like, there's no greater love than laying down your life and stuff like that, and which is really sad. But I think that's what Byron was trying to teach us here, was to like what it must have been like for them to have to be as brave as they were, and then what it cost us in the end, and just a very very beautiful puzzle, and whatnot. So, but anyway, that's where I think it is for that. So directly north of that would be like, if you were looking in that direction, would be here on the shore too. But like I said, there are three options, but um, since these are kind of educational puzzles and he's trying to teach you something, I think he's wanting us to look at that memorial as we sit there and think about it. So, but that's my guess is where the X is right there, and remembering the soldiers that were on the beach.
Now, it's been 40 years. Has that rock moved? Probably. Like, I would not bet my paycheck on that rock not being where it was 40 years ago. But if it hasn't moved, and I can't tell how big that rock is, but if it hasn't moved, then it should still be there if they haven't messed with it. But that's where this thing is like, that's where I think. Another interesting thing, yeah, so this is Shore Boulevard right here. You would have to take the shores. This is the Triborough Bridge, and a lot of people think that's the Gray Giant. I just think it's New York. But another interesting thing is this is Hell's Gate right here. So when you're on that diving board, you're kind of looking at Hell's Gate, which I thought that was interesting too, as just a part of the puzzle. But yeah, that's how these things work, is like you have to play your role. So some of you may be asking, well, what does 11 o'clock have to do with it? It's not 11 o'clock, it's the number 11. It's the 11th hour, the 11th day of, it's is it Veterans Day? I think that's Veterans Day. Anyway, it's one of the military holidays. I think it's Veterans Day. Armistice Day is, I think, is Veterans Day. But that's where what that is. And yeah, I think Eisenhower told the soldiers that they were going to be the ones that turned the tide of the war. And then in history books, it tells us that America, helped turn the tide of the war. So, but that's it. So for this one, you just gotta like be brave, take a leap of faith, and hope you make it, or at least in 1982, hope you make it, and find the cast that way. And that was how we did it. Was we just had to be a soldier in D-Day in here. And this puzzle kind of like it's kind of like close to my heart too, because my grandfather was in World War II in Europe, and sadly he passed away before I was even born. But he was over there, and I have his medals hanging on my office, and uh, because they've meant a lot to our family. And he's got a Purple Heart in there and a Bronze Star, and I think there's a few in there I don't even know what they are, sadly, but he's got a bunch of them, but they're all hanging in a little picture frame there. But anyway, but that's it for this one. That's all this is you just got to take a leap of faith from a high dive, go fight the Germans, and you can have your casque. But and I always tell people, like in my videos, like don't even concentrate on where I'm telling you it is, but do concentrate on what I'm telling you you got to do. I found the tale simply told for you. You got to go act it out. Now, where you act it out, that's on you. That's where you choose to do it. But it could possibly lead to a cask, and I'm just telling you where I would. But you can do this wherever you want to do it. But they are tales simply told, and they're all like that. They're all basic history except for one, and I think that was John's pet project. I'll leave it to him to tell me that one day because I don't know if Byron would have known who she was, and but John would have, and but Byron did live somewhere at one time that may have gave him a little history on that too, which may have influenced that. But but yeah, that's what I think for this one, guys. Is just go be a soldier. Um, Pretend you're. I guess all you can do now is pretend you're going to jump in the water. But that middle of one branch of the V was right there. Yeah, one quick thing, guys. Before I forget, I kind of forgot this earlier when I went over the this part of it. But this line right here, find the arm that extends over the slender path. In summer, I said that that's a diving board, but the arm is your arm, like it's your own arm. Because when you get on a diving board, you balance and your arms go off of each side of it. So that's all he's saying there is that. So if you're looking for that, you've got to be on the diving board. So yeah, I forgot to mention that. So I'll show you one last thing here. When you get down here close to where you would have to go, there's a monument to the veterans down here too. Um, and I think it's just I don't can't remember if it's the veterans of World War I or just veterans in general, but it's a monument to the veterans, and I think that's why he chose Veterans Day as the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month for this puzzle. But anyway, that's it. But anyway, go fight the Germans. I'll be rooting for you, and hope you find a cask.